Powered by Riverside FM.
All right, guys. So for this Browns Backers interview, please help me welcome from behind or near enemy lines, anyways, the president of the Annapolis Area Browns Backers, Devin.
Thank you.
Devin, thanks. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. How are you today?
Absolutely. Doing well, enjoying Christmas/New Year's holiday break. So been chilling at home instead of heading into the office regularly. So that's been nice. I'd like to say I've been enjoying some football, but it's been particularly hard to enjoy this year. But we're troopers, Browns fans, so it's been fun, even though we stink.
It's definitely that weird time of year. You kind of wake up and don't know what day it is or what's going on.
We've been lovingly referring to it as the taint of the year in this episode, so it is what it is.
I'm honored.
Yeah, that we would have you on during this time.
During the taint.
It's a very special time.
Yeah. Now, Devin, so tell us about your chapter out there. First of all, I just want to point out that compared to most of the presidents that we talked to, you're pretty young. So talk about that as you're telling us about your chapter.
It's a pretty gross assumption. You don't know how old he is. Maybe he just looks really young.
Yeah, I just do a lot of blood transfusions.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Well, for 75, you look good.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, 75, body of a 39-year-old. So
there you go.
Do what I can.
No, but yeah, tell us about your chapter. Kind of where you guys are at, where your viewing location is, all those good things.
So we are the Annapolis Area Browns Backers. I moved down here to Annapolis from Ohio in 2009 full time. And when I moved, there was no chapter in this area, so I had to truck my butt all the way up to North Baltimore, about an hour drive to the Baltimore Browns Backers. But then one of my local heroes, Jeff Slater, started this chapter in 2012, which was really nice because then I just had to drive down the street. Our first location was Buffalo Wild Wings, and then we've ended up moving a couple times. So our recent chapter location that we've been at for a few years now is Glory Days in Edgewater. They've been great hosts for us. We've got a private room in the back of the restaurant, private servers and audio, lots of TVs all around. So we got a couple games going on. Anytime we're viewing the Browns. So they've been great, and we actually just started branching out to a northern location now too, at Ramillo's in Severna Park area, trying to make it easier for certain people, in different areas to get to one of the locations and meet up with some fans. So that's been going well. We've used it for our off-schedule games this year, so like the non-1 o'clock games, which usually attendance is lower anyways.
So like this Saturday.
Yep. So we're just there this past Saturday, and we'll be there this coming Saturday. And it's actually really cool for the Ravens games. They have a local Ravens club that meets up there. So we've done a joint party for the last one, which was particularly awesome.
Is this gonna be like West Side Story? Like,
yeah, I think so. I'm gonna try and get some of that going.
Yeah. It's just gonna be a battle.
Yeah. So that's been fun. Yeah. And so, man, 12 years now. I guess we've been around. And it's been a good time. Jeff has been looking for someone to take over the club the past few years. He's trying to be more hands-off so he can do less of the work and enjoy, to the extent possible, more of the just hanging out with the fans and watching the game. So I took over this year. This is my first year as president of the Annapolis Area Backers. So it's been fun. It's tough, because I've got a lot of different jobs, so I'm really, really busy in general. But this is something that's so enjoyable to me that like the work that I have to put into it really is kind of fun. It's like a break from the other grinds that I do day to day.
We know something about that.
Yeah,
it's a labor of love.
Yeah. No, and that's awesome, man. The fact that you're taking over, I know that that's good. It's actually probably a good thing because again, I mentioned how you're part of the younger crowd, and for whatever reason, it seems like a lot of the Browns backers groups are having a lot of trouble getting the younger crowd to come out to their games. So the fact that you've taken over and you can kind of infuse some youth, if you will, into that group is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think it's been going pretty well, and I definitely bring a different style to the club than our former president. I'm not going to say that is better, but it's, it's just me.
But it's better. Yeah.
But honestly, and it's been fun. And man, early this year and coming out of last year and heading into this year, we had probably 50 people show up for our later games last year and our early games this year. And we hung on with pretty good numbers through the middle of the season, probably 20 or 30 people every week, even though things were not looking like they were going to be stellar for the rest of the year. And now, late in a season like this, it's tough to get, pretty impressive attendance any given week. But we've still got people coming out. We've got like 10 or 15 on a regular basis every week, showing up to, cry together, mostly drink ourselves in our beers. So it's been fun. And we've had a nice mix of new faces that we haven't seen previous years too. So hopefully we can keep that up. Maybe we can do something in the off season to put a team together so we can enjoy ourselves more next year. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure.
Baltimore is an interesting place in terms of this relationship with the Browns, given the history. I mean, do you find most of your members, are they transplants like you that have moved from Ohio for work or whatever else? Or I would find it kind of hard to believe that there's like locals that grew up watching the Browns and still root for the Browns, even though the Ravens came there.
Yeah, they're pretty much rooting for the previous Browns, but they don't like when I remind them of that. And we traded them away right when they decided to play really well and win a Super Bowl. So so most of the people that I run into are working in the area. So they grew up in Ohio. They were born a Browns fan because let's be honest, we didn't really choose this life. And then they moved down here for work. There's a lot of people that live here that didn't grow up in the area. And it's kind of fun being in the Baltimore area because there is that rivalry. So it kind of keeps things interesting, and it keeps me motivated to watch football even when there's no hope for the Browns winning, because I still love to cheer for the Ravens to lose and Pittsburgh to lose. We've got, decent Steelers groups down here too. So that's been fun. And I think there's a very large military presence down here as well. We've got several bases in the area, so a lot of military folks here for at least a few years before they get shipped off somewhere else. Nice. One of my good buddies just moved here last year and just stumbled on our bar. He was there with his son watching the game, and we were like, well, there's more of us in the room. You want to come hang out? He was like, oh, I didn't even know there was a club going on here.
Nice.
That worked out well. Yeah.
That's what Bob Ross would call a happy accident.
That's right.
Yeah, perfect.
Listen, I know that your group is also doing charity, even though we don't like Baltimore. I know your group is also doing some charity work. All Browns backers groups do some charity work. So, what are you guys involved with over there?
Very true. So we got a couple things going on. Our biggest contribution this year has been to a inner city Baltimore charity that I've been supporting for a long time personally, and now I got since I took over, I got the club supporting as well. It's called Helping Up Mission, and they focus on working with homeless people and many of whom have addiction problems. So they take them in, they house them, they give them job training, get them clean, and then back on their feet, find them places to live and places to work, and reintroduce them into society as a healthy, happy individual compared to where they came from. So that's something that I've been really happy with our group contributing to each year. A couple other things we've done previous years, and we still do participate in, even if we don't always give all of our money to, is Wreaths Across America. Was big for Jeff, and he's been doing that for since they opened the club in 2012. We go down to Arlington Cemetery typically when they do their wreath laying every year. So that's pretty cool, being in the area, going to one of those bigger, more famous military cemeteries has been fun. And then another little one that we've started donating to recently and contribute to with our time as we can is Bikes for Tykes, which is pretty much exactly what it sounds. So we got we give them a little bit of money, and then if we can, we send some members up. They need a lot of help putting together the bikes during the time when they're getting ready to hand them out, which is typically Christmas.
Yeah,
nice.
No, that's awesome. All great charities. And the first one that you mentioned, it's always cool when you have a kind of a personal passion that you can bring into something like this and connect it all together, and it makes it that much more meaningful to yourself, which I think drives an even bigger impact because there's a lot of passion behind it. So,
I was really happy about that, and I am very selective with my charities, and I really like to support the ones that don't just put Band-Aids on things and say, everybody did a great job. We gave this guy a sandwich for the day, and then he's still living a life that's not not something that he's happy about. So these guys really turn lives around. It's really something I'm happy about.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And real quick, before we get into the football side of things, I do want to ask you one question. You kind of alluded to it already. You're in the Annapolis area. You're a Browns fan. You had mentioned being born into this because nobody chooses this life. Is that what happened with you?
That was my fate. So I grew up in Canton, Ohio, and then didn't move down here until I graduated from undergrad, 2009. So, yep, I was born a Browns fan, born and raised. Well, I was born in California, but I moved here. My parents grew up, both born in Canton, grew up in Canton, met each other, and then moved back here when I was 2, back to Canton, Ohio. So pretty much, born and raised, born to Cantonites and raised in Canton my whole life. And I enjoyed
which high school did you go to in Canton there?
Went to Glen Oak.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Glen Oak High School, yeah, Plain Township. Lived walking distance from the school, so I walked my butt to school. I like to make fun of the kids now because we don't really get much snow around here. They shut things down when there's a dusting, or sometimes just the threat of snow the next day. They'll shut schools down. I'm like, I remember walking. I sound like an old man. So
see where these stories come from?
75.
Yeah, he is 75, looking like he's 39.
Yeah, you'll be able to tell my age now. I can't hide it physically when I say things like this. But I remember walking to school in foot deep snow, trudging my ass and I'm like, what? How did we not close school today? They don't close schools in Ohio, but they do it down here. So,
yeah. It was a different time.
Yeah,
it was a different time.
It was a
better time.
I remember some pretty sketchy bus rides in elementary school.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah, me too. This doesn't feel safe, but yeah, my parents are still in Ohio, so I get back there once every other year at least. I like to try and go to a game with my buddies who are all scattered across the country now, but we try and meet up for a game at least once a year. We didn't make it this year, too much going on, but
you didn't miss much this year.
Yeah. It's okay.
It was a low motivation.
It was a good year to skip it. Don't worry, they're going to have a new stadium soon, maybe. So you could check that.
That'll be a good reason to come back.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But yeah, onto the football side of things here. Not that there's all that much to talk about, but what are your thoughts on this year's Cleveland Browns, and where do you think things went wrong?
It's been a rough year, and it was so surprising, I think, because we were such a beat up team last year with 4 quarterbacks, and Flacco, who we had to pick up because we ran through the other 3 before the season ended, and somehow we managed to win games. And we lost Chubb, second game of the year last year, and we still put together some game winning football, and I don't understand how you take that team and somehow this is what we got this year, where the first 8 games, and everybody's got a lot to say about Deshaun Watson. Couldn't really say I understood that contract in the first place, but I liked to hope that maybe it worked out well because we signed it. And that was clearly not the right move. Yeah. I think everybody is finally, hopefully, knocking on wood, realizing, even in the company or the Browns team leadership, that
you'd be surprised. You might not see as much of it because you live over there in Annapolis, but there's a lot of supporters still here, and it's really weird.
Wow. Yeah, like how? And
I don't know. He's on paper, statistically, since he's been here, he's like one of the worst quarterbacks ever. So
yeah, and you can't. He had 7 or 8 games this year where he couldn't put together 200 yards or go over 20 points in a single game.
He's allergic to 200 yards.
Yeah, and somehow we're still we're still playing him. And this, like, come on, man. If we got a pitcher out there who's throwing, home run balls every round, every inning, like, you're gonna bench that guy. You're gonna try something else. Like, why do we keep sending this same guy out there? We're not
in Cleveland. We got a kicker that doesn't make field goals. So,
man, that's been another like huge shock this year. Like Justin Tucker and Hopkins both were like, you could bet money on those kicks, 60 yards. Yeah, it's going to go through.
We've talked about that a lot this year. Like we would literally trot him out from 65, and the assumption, like it wasn't even like he might make this. It was like he's definitely making this. It's 65 yards, no problem.
Yep.
And now it's like 27 yards. We're probably in trouble.
I mean, he missed. What was it? Like we went for the extra point. He missed it, but someone called a time. No, there was like a defensive holding call on an extra point, which was super goofy. Got to try it again, shanked it. Same shank. Like, what are you doing? After that, I said, just stop kicking the ball. Just go for it every time. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, statistically, you're at like 53% anyways. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Over time, you'll actually be in the positive if you go for two every time. So
extra points are not guaranteed anymore. Just go for two.
We know why we're not going for two. We got DTR as quarterback. So there's that. But no, on top of it, everybody's talking about they really want to keep Stefanski because he's a great coach. And it's like, this is the guy. I understand you could argue who's making calls and whatever the case may be, but this is the guy that trotted out these quarterbacks every week and sat there in press conferences and told us that Deshaun Watson gave us the best chance to win.
Well, I'm kind of wondering, like, what happened to Stefanski, the quarterback whisperer, right? Like, that was one of the big things when he came in was that, he's this quarterback guru, can work with all these quarterbacks.
They can't hear him. He's whispering.
And we haven't seen any of that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. This year, just look at this year. DTR, Jameis Winston, Deshaun Watson, all terrible.
Yeah. I mean, no one's been particularly good. I mean, Jameis had stretches, but that's what Jameis is. He
had a game or two, but man, like, I had hoped at least that he would throw as many touchdowns as interceptions. But the last couple games, it was just all interceptions.
I think he was still positive. I think he was one over.
He finished 13-12. Yeah, I mean,
that would have been. But that's what I mean. That's way better than DTR. So,
DTR is 1 for 10 for his career. So
he's not he is not impressed. And I know everyone says, well, he's still young, he's still fresh. But I've seen Daniels come into Washington and light it up. And he's young, he's fresh.
Yeah, I think a different caliber.
Yeah, some people can play in the NFL and some can't. And
the good news is, whether it's good news or not can be debated, but we no longer have to go through the DTR experiment. I'm almost positive he will be gone in the offseason because
I would be surprised if we hung on to him. I think it's been made.
Which, again, the Browns, just bad decision by the Browns because before he played, even like throughout the season, he had some value because people knew he was athletic, and there was some trade value there where you could at least trade him away and get something for him. Yeah. That's all shot now. Nobody's going to want to touch him. So I don't know. It's just rough. Go ahead.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, that brings up a good point. I mean, quarterback's going to be a huge question mark for this team going forward. Do you have someone in this year's draft that you maybe have an eye on? Would you rather see a retread? Like, I know there's a lot of talk about Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold, with J.J. McCarthy up in Minnesota, what they're going to do there. Is there a perfect scenario or a bridge scenario, something you'd like to see happen for next year?
So I think being a Browns fan has given me little hope that we will select a NFL caliber quarterback in the draft. So I tend to want to use those draft picks for running backs, receivers, offensive line, something that I think if we can put a mediocre quarterback behind a solid offensive line and give him some great receivers, like we're gonna win more games than we're winning this year. So finding that like good enough quarterback and making a trade for him, I think is going to be better news than any draft selection.
You think someone like Ashton Genty would look good in orange and brown?
I mean, better than a lot of guys we got wearing it right now.
Yeah,
I would take it. I think, and I wasn't in love with Mayfield, but but he won us games. He's
Yeah.
not a Tom Brady quarterback, but he's, I think, like Joe Flacco quarterback. He's winning games. He's throwing interceptions. He's throwing touchdowns.
This year he's hardly thrown any interceptions, but that's a whole other story.
And he killed it the other day, man, with 5 touchdowns for stupid amounts of yardage. And
We've talked at length this season about, I wish we knew it was the good old days when it was the good old days.
Right. Really would have soaked it all in.
A fleeting moment in our history.
Yeah. Then we ran him out of town. But on to this week's game. So this week, that's enough talking about the Browns this season because that's just depressing. I guess we'll be depressed some more right now. But this week's game, we play the Ravens. They're obviously going for a division title. They do have to win the game for the division because if they lose and Pittsburgh wins, Pittsburgh has the tiebreaker.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on this week's game? And when you're done telling us how bad you think the Browns are going to get destroyed, tell us what you think the final score is going to be.
Keep in mind the spread right now is 17.5 points.
Oh, God. Oh.
18. It went up to 18.
Now.
It went up to 18.
And I assume we're starting DTR again because why?
They've been a little bit mum on that. I
have a sneaky suspicion that we're going to go with Bailey Zappi.
But because
why not? Let's just add him to the jersey.
Yeah. Who gives a shit at this point, right? So, see what happens.
Yeah.
I would love to be the dream crushing team that just comes in and wins a game we have no business winning to lower their seed in the playoffs. I don't know that I would put money on that. I think I probably put a lot of stock in that spread. And honestly, based on the last few games, where I think maybe we've had
we scored 3 last week.
Yeah, that was rough to watch too. And like we get to the end zone and then we're giving the ball to the other team. So part of
we ain't won it.
I think if Jameis was in there, maybe we score some points. But I don't know that we're going to hold off Baltimore. Somehow we managed to do it last time. I still think our defense has the ability to play some good games, but most of the time I think they're on the field too much, and our offense just can't put anything together. So we wear down, heading into the second half, and then the other teams usually start scoring pretty heavily. So I wouldn't be surprised if Baltimore put up 30, 35 points, and maybe we get 17.
17 is generous. I like that. If we get 17, I want to be pumped.
The game might at least be watchable.
I'm pretty sure we'll make our predictions here soon, but I'm pretty sure I have us down for 6. So,
and that
might be generous. So
that's my optimistic prediction, but
35 to 17.
Yeah.
The problem is, Devin, you're just not old enough. You just don't.
He's 75. Yeah.
You don't have enough Browns perspective.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, well, listen, on that depressing note, Devin, I wish we could sit here and talk to you all day. It has been fun. We appreciate all of your insights and everything that you guys are doing out there in Annapolis, even though it is in the community of one of our biggest rivals. We appreciate what you're doing. And helping out where you can. And it's been awesome having you on the show.
You do a lot of crab cakes out there?
Heck yeah. I love seafood, love crab cakes. I think every time we go somewhere, my wife gets a crab cake. She just can't help herself. They're delicious.
Crab cakes and football.
I like
Maryland
that.
does.
It's American way.
But thanks so much for joining us, Devin. I'm sure we'll talk to you soon, and we'll try and get out there at some point and see you in person. So
yeah, man. Yeah, anytime you're out here, hit me up. Love to have you.
All right, appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys. We're the Annapolis Area Browns Backers, and you're listening to the Burning River Sportscast. Go Browns!